Real men can't even pronounce Tour de France.
Welcome to episode 90 of Farms Markets. This is the show where participants get 5 minutes to state their opinions, and the person with the most time at the end wins, but there are no prizes. Today we are talking about changes to 401ks, retail sales data, the Tour de France, Apple Maps, and the lottery. Millions of high-earning Americans are slated to lose a popular tax deduction starting next year. Savers age 50 and older can make catch-up contributions in their 401k accounts each year, with eligible workers allowed to put an extra $7,500 into their accounts for a total of $30,000 this year. Starting next year, those catch-up funds will be funneled only into after-tax Roth 401k accounts for those who earn more than $145,000 per year. The change is part of a set of new rules Congress passed in December. In 2022, 16% of eligible participants took advantage of catch-up contributions, according to the Vanguard Group. Do you think this regulation helps or hurts employees with 401k plans? Drew.
I think it hurts. Like you said, it only hurts the investors that earn more than $145,000 per year and wish to get the tax deduction for that 401k catch-up contribution instead of paying taxes on a Roth 401k contribution. So it's a very small group of people that it's going to hurt. So it'll hurt some investors, but not all of investors. If anything, it's just more annoying than it is harmful. You know, these people, we're trying to plan what their financial lives will look like from retirement to the day they die. And then you have Congress stepping in and pulling the levers and changing the rules on you, it's very frustrating. So it's not the most insidious rule I've seen, this Roth 401k thing. Roth 401ks, at the end of the day, they're pretty good. And for many, perhaps they ought to be contributing to them instead of a traditional 401k. But at the end of the day, I just don't like the government creating all these rules and boundaries and removing the options.
I think this is just another example of the Financial Planners Job Preservation Act. Is that we haven't seen all of the opportunities that lie in this change, but I suspect that more good than bad is going to happen to the 16% who actually take advantage of this. It's a really, really small number of people who put in the catch-up money anyway. But I suspect for those folks, they now have even more incentive to invest in such a way that they'll never pay taxes on the growth. So from an estate planning perspective, and having an account that 20 years from now, a high income earner can now buy his next Tesla by taking money out of his retirement plan and never paying taxes. I think there's probably more good than bad out of this deal.
So I have 2 points I'm going to try and go through relatively quickly. But the first is, most people, when they make contributions to their pre-tax 401k account, in order for that to actually make sense for you, you actually have to reinvest the tax savings. Most people do not do that. Your lifestyle probably increases in that you pay less in taxes, so therefore you have a little bit more money in your account. But for most people, that extra that they have from tax savings is immaterial in their lives, and it usually gets spent on frivolous things. So for people, when they put money into a Roth 401k, even at the higher income tax levels, it's probably almost better, because that way you're paying the taxes now, you get your savings in the 401k account, because it doesn't matter. If you put $7,000 in your pre-tax account or your post-tax account, you're going to put $7,000 in. The taxes are going to come out in your paycheck. So for most people, you actually increase your savings amount when you make contributions to a Roth. So that might actually end up helping people. The thing that I don't like is that this was all due to budget reconciliation. Budgets are scored over a 10-year period. And what Congress probably need to do is that we need to show some way where this is not going to cost as much as it actually does. So what we're going to do is we're going to take away the option for people who make over $145,000. I'm assuming that's joint adjusted gross income, to make pre-tax contributions to their 401k. And I find that particularly distasteful. I don't like, taking away, options for something just to make the budget work. Seems a little shady in my opinion. All right, so Americans bumped up their spending at retailers last month, but also at a slower pace. The Commerce Department on Tuesday reported that retail sales in June rose by a seasonally adjusted 0.2%, from a month earlier, less than the 0.5% economists polled by the Wall Street Journal expected to see, and less than the 0.5% logged in May. Is this the start of the recession we were promised?
This kind of reminds me of my wife, Kayla. She has this habit when we're getting ready to go somewhere and we're putting on our shoes and we're standing by the front door. She'll check the weather app on her phone to see if it's nice out or not. And she might see that it's 60 degrees and she'll say, oh, I need a jacket, or I don't need a jacket. And that's one way of doing it. My solution is just to open the front door and know immediately what the weather situation is and how it affects me. So I feel like that's how a lot of folks are with these economic reports. We become accustomed to someone telling us how good or bad things are, and that it's the beginning of something good, or it's the start of a recession, and we abandon the reality of the situation where we stand. So retail sales, they rose 0.2% when the polling called for a 0.5%. To some, maybe that is the start to a recession, but to others, I say just keep living your lives. Be smart with the time and the money that you have at all times, and you'll be just fine.
I think we may have entered a time in American history where recessions are going to be experienced by 50% of the population, and the other 50%, it's like, one way or the other. We went through the markets decline pretty severely in March of 2020, and it devastated half the country, and the other half didn't bother them in a bit. We're certainly seeing less traffic here in our tourist whitefish this year compared to the previous years, but I think that might be because people have other options for travel. Quite frankly, I don't see the recession impacting anybody except for the people at the lower margins in our society.
I think people drive themselves crazy if you're trying to split hairs. It came out to be 0.2% when it was expected to be 0.5, and yes, it's been decreasing a little bit. But if you look at these things in isolation, and even if you look at economic reports as a whole, you're just going to drive yourself crazy, because it's, if you try and make a prediction based on the data, you're most likely going to be wrong. Or you can just sit there and just overanalyze the heck out of all of this data and still be wrong. So, I mean, it's nice to know, kind of getting a general idea of where things are going, but I would not make too many decisions based on it. And then I would not overanalyze it either. I feel like that's where the news goes crazy. Like, they love to just dive into these things and what it could possibly mean. But at the end of the day, you're not going to predict human behavior. All right. So right now, Jason Gay is a sports writer for the Wall Street Journal, currently in Europe, covering the Tour de France. So apparently, according to Jason, this is one of the most exciting Tour de France's he's ever seen in his life. Do you pay attention to the Tour de France at all?
I do a little bit. I'll when the tour is on from time to time, when I have a minute, I'll watch the highlights, just because I like bike racing. I'm not going to sit down and watch the whole segment like some folks might. But honestly, after reading Jason Gay's article, I might start following the tour a little more closely, at least for the last six stages, because that was a really funny, entertaining article that he wrote. So I enjoyed it, and he's got a good point. The last 6 stages, I think there's like a margin of 10 seconds, which just does not happen. So they're really he described it, they're having a phone booth knife fight, and they're just going at each other. And usually by the 20th or 15th stage, you have a pretty good idea of who the winner's going to be. But now you don't. It's kind of a toss up. So it is exciting to see this finish out.
When Drew used the analogy of knife fight in a phone booth for riding bicycles, that was not the image that popped up in my mind. So no, I don't follow I don't follow bike racing.
I don't follow either. Elsa and I are watching a documentary on it. Yeah, it looks kind of exciting, but it's kind of like NASCAR racing. Like, I don't want to sit there and watch the whole thing. Like, I'll watch the last 10 minutes. But to Joe's comment, these guys though, I mean, I watch them, especially after they get done with some of these like hill courses where the entire thing's uphill. I mean, the amount of pain that you have to go through for like 4 to 6 hours of like uphill bike riding, and then also like have like a surge at the end. Like, these guys have nothing left at the end of the race. I mean, you're a pretty tremendous athlete to do something like that, in my opinion.
So as somebody goes into the ring for 15 rounds at 3 minutes a round with
Yeah,
12-ounce gloves.
I guess I have a higher appreciation for it because at one point, when Drew was running the La Grizz Ultra Marathon, I biked for him for like 2 miles or something like that, and it killed me. So every time I see these guys going uphill, I'm just like, I can't imagine the pain they're in. Anyways, all right. So you get lost driving to a party, and there's a chance someone will ask, "Why did you use Apple Maps?" According to the Wall Street Journal, after its 2012 launch, Apple's apps quickly routed itself into a hot mess territory. The Grand Cayman lacked roads. So if you're on the Grand Cayman Island, it lacked roads. New York's Manhattan Bridge looked like a roller coaster. Officials in Australia warned that some of its navigation flaws were potentially life-threatening. Apple CEO Tim Cook issued a rare apology to customers and fired its head of software. The company has spent years trying to fix the service. Now, according to customers and user experience analysts, it has. Some are finding reasons to switch to Apple Maps, including its clear public transit directions and its visually appealing design. Do you have any plans to start using Apple Maps?
No plans at all. I'm an Android user, so can't even do it if I wanted.
Same here. I've never, can't remember the last time I owned an Apple product.
I probably won't. Google's my default, and I probably won't have the time to change it. Google also has led me in some astray a number of times, though. I will say that. All right. Last question here is that apparently a $1 billion Powerball jackpot is drawing some yawns. Though it's a life-changing windfall for many times over. Wednesday's prize marks the fourth to reach the 10 figures since 2022. Economists say there is now signs of flagging interest given the infinitesimally small chance to becoming an overnight unicorn has now happened less often. Why do you think people are losing interest? Even though the answer was probably stated in the introduction question.
I don't know if I was just kind of think about this for a while and give my opinion. I think maybe there's some psychological human behavior going on. There was that study that was done by Harvard years ago where they asked the students, would you rather have a salary of $50,000 where everyone around you only has a salary of $25,000, or would you rather have a salary of $100,000 but everyone around you can make $200,000? And the results were actually more people prefer to have the $50,000. Now, this was in a fixed scenario, so it's not like you factor in inflation or things like that. So I think people that play the lottery, since there's so many billion-dollar winners, they're like, well, this is becoming too commonplace. I want to be that one unicorn and have the edge over everybody. Now that it's, more people are doing it, it's kind of losing its allure.
I think that the lotteries have been around so long, they just kind of lost some of their appeal. I think it's just that there's so many other new distractions out there besides the Powerball. Used to be that people would listen on the radio or they'd watch the evening news waiting for the Powerball numbers. But as soon as you get to that segment in the news, people are already looking at their phone, following Twitter instead. So I just don't think it has the same market appeal that it once did.
Yeah, I think the infinitesimally small chance of winning deters people. I mean, everybody's just like, I'm not going to win anyways. Even if tickets are only like a couple of bucks, you'd rather just save a couple of dollars and, buy like a Coke or something like that when you're at the gas station. I mean, the chances of winning, people are right. The chances of winning are infinitesimally small. It's most likely not going to be you. There's that small chance that, you are like the 1 in 10,000. I don't know what the statistics are, but there is the chance that it'd be you. But I think most people are just like, it's not me. I'm not even going to try anymore. I mean, it's a psychological thing. They're just like, I'm not going to win. Why would I even try? So
you actually think that previously unenlightened people have now become enlightened economists and realize that the odds are against them, and they're making the conscious decision not to buy it based on that assumption?
I mean, I think it's just, I think more and more people have to overcome inertia to do something. And to overcome the inertia to pay an extra $2 for a lottery ticket or like go out of your way to do it. I think most people are just like, I'm not going to win, so therefore I'm not going to go out of my way to get a lottery ticket. Especially when you pay for fuel at the pump now. It used to be that you had to go in and pay, but
I think there's something to be said for that. I think that people used to go in there and they're looking around, they grab a candy bar, a Slim Jim, and a lottery ticket, and now they're doing most of their gas purchases at the pump.
Right.
Only people buying lottery tickets are people who are buying milk on the way home from work.
Yeah.
Can you buy a lottery ticket from your phone? Can you buy it online?
As a good,
I would think that the phone and like apps and things like that would only kind of encourage people to buy more lottery tickets. And the fact that there's more winners, I guess, wouldn't that indicate that the odds are actually going up?
I don't think you can play the lottery on.
Because everything is becoming more automated. There's less friction to buy anything these days. I would think lottery would, unless there's rules like, is there regulations like, hey, we can't have this on phones because people would abuse it way too much?
I guess it's legal to buy lottery tickets online in 45 states. Yeah, I guess you can buy it online, but they obviously they're not marketing it. Did you know that? If we had not talked about this, would you even known that you could buy a lottery ticket online? You can't in the state of Montana, but other states, I guess 45 states allow it. So, but again, I think it's something you'd have to go out of your way to do, and most people aren't just going to go, look up lottery ticket, put in their credit card number, pay $2 for a ticket would be my guess. All right. Well, Joe won by landslide this week. 1 minute 36 seconds. So I need to find some topics where you're more opinionated and not as succinct. All right. Well, that's it for episode 90 of Farm and Markets. We'll see you next week.